This is why. Recording in progress.
Good evening. Okay. This is the Fairhaven Environmental Commission meeting, November 9th today, right? So I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. So we'll start with the sunshine law notice. This is the regular meeting of the Environmental Commission of the Borough of Fairhaven in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person and through the Zoom meeting platform, or OWL, right? Is that what it's called? And being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this regular meeting on November 9th, 2022 is available by call-in, phone number, or through Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it is time for questions/comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question, comment by phone or through Zoom by raise the hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger on January 28, 2022, and posted on the Borough website, the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Environmental Commission Secretary is directed to include this statement in the minutes of this meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Michael DiMichelli, absent. Kelly Flanagan, here. Jesse Murray, absent. Brian Olson,
Here.
Gary Patterson,
Here.
Jonathan Peters, absent. Brian Rice,
Here.
Ralph Windrum, absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Has everybody gotten a copy of the October meeting minutes and have read them? Are there any additions or corrections? Pass? Okay. Thank you. Moving right along. Current business. So if I could start with that, I had the opportunity to meet with Mark Olson this morning. I guess we're going to call it the 3rd Street Trail Project for now. And I just have to commend everybody that's been working there. It's just an unbelievable task and it looks awesome so far. And I know there's a lot more work to be done, which is why you're here. It's been an area that's been, you know, I guess the whole natural area, right? This isn't part of that for whatever reason, but the whole Fairhaven Fields in terms of these areas of woods have been not cared for in probably decades, probably never, I would dare say, to the extent that they have to be. So I learned a little bit about invasives and non-invasives and such from Mark. It was very, very inspiring. And again, I really appreciate what you all are doing. I did, it was brought up to me, and then we'll open the floor. Bonnie wants to talk, or I guess we'll do that at the end, or do you want to do it during this? And just have it all inclusive. Let's do it all inclusive to not go back to it. So what was asked of me and it's asked of the commission now is to find out how to get some dirt. There's plenty of dirt on the other side, but it's not the quality of dirt that that they would like to have, organic dirt, to be able to plant a pollinator garden, continue to plant the trees. Which, how many trees are there now? 30? 50. And so there's more trees to be planted, more to take out. What I did a little bit of digging, it just so happened that Christy sent over our budget, and it's budget time to put in for budget for next year, but we still have a remaining balance of $1,566.83. I got the dirt, or the dirt was brought to me as an expense, and the original quote was 3,800. So that came down from 5,000. And so I made a call to the dirt man and got it down to 1,250 for 5 loads, 20 yards each load, so to get you 100 yards. He also said if there's an extra, if you need an extra, truck or two, he's not gonna tack that on. My proposal to us as a commission is to allocate those funds. And I first checked with Kelly. I don't know, Gary, if you have any budgetary items that we need to address before the year end, to not lose this budget, go to a great cause, is to pay for the dirt out of our budget. So that would leave us a little bit of change for the rest of the year if we wanted to do something with it. We have it. I can't think of any other budgetary items, and I'd like to propose that we approve the $1,250 for the dirt. Soil. Organic compost. No, it's actually coming out of another area that he's been removing the soil, and it's been there for hundreds of years. So it should be good for your purposes. We don't want to put it down now because they're going to put in leaves there. The DPW is going to dump a load of leaves, compost. I've also agreed and volunteered to bring a small piece of equipment in there, a little backhoe, not backhoe, but a Bobcat with a little front end loader to make your jobs easier. I'll run it and spread the dirt the best I can. And then, take your shovels and rakes and rake it out. But that would make your job a lot easier than wheelbarrows and all that. So I guess if we want to vote on it, pass it, I'm all for it, obviously.
I'm sorry, the revised code was 1,200.
$1,250.
Thank you.
Where is it coming from?
The dirt man, Rogers, Rogers, which is an
Oh,
approved
guys.
vendor for the town already. So we would have to do Christie would write up a purchase order. He'll store the dirt until the spring because they don't need the dirt until then. They want to have the leaves compost. He'll store the dirt on his premises. When we're ready for the dirt, we make the call and he'll deliver it.
Is this for the pollinator garden itself, or do you guys want to talk a little bit more about that and explain?
Yeah,
Okay, explain that. Okay.
yep.
It's fine, I can pass this up.
Oh, I think there is.
You guys okay?
I have one.
I have
Thank
one
you.
and then I printed out also.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Presidia, and I'm here tonight with Mark Olson to discuss this ongoing project at the Third Street Trail and ask for the Environmental Commission's support and approval to move forward with our plans for a pollinator garden. I gave everybody a handout. You can see on the third page is, in case you don't know, the area that we're talking about. It's the North Street, the north entrance to the Fairhaven Fields. It shows a little map of the trail, and it goes into an area and that has been cleared out a bit, and a couple Eagle Scout projects have taken place spring and summer, planting, as Mark said, 50 trees in there. One of the, as part of that digging project, they started digging up on the hillside, going up to the brush grinding, and realized that there was so much debris in it, they could not plant any trees there. It's all cement and asphalt left there from the Lovett Nursery, I guess it's a dump. So since we couldn't plant trees, we thought, well, what could we do? And the idea of the pollinator garden came about, thinking that that would also improve the habitat there, and support insects and bees and everything else. And it would also improve the beauty of, passing, there's so many people going on that trail. It would be lovely to make it, welcoming area. The middle the second page of that handout shows the stages that we've done. So that first photo at the top is from last fall, when you just see the piles of dead vines. Pretty much everything was covered with these vines. I mean, just like lumps of brown. The trees were covered in ivy and everything else. So that, we've started to pull that down. And you can see that the middle picture shows the clearing, and we've started to put cardboard down. And I wanted to explain that. We had a landscape designer, a fellow, Jason Goldman, who works over at the Beaver Woods Environmental Center. Had to come over just to ask him what he would do, because there are so many weeds in that patch right now, and we knew we had to kill them to give anything we planted a chance to grow. So he suggested cardboard versus plastic or herbicides, because cardboard will just break down, it's biodegradable. And he also suggested adding the leaves on, because as you all know, if you leave leaves in your beds, they break down and your soils improve. So we thought that'd just be a natural way. It also, the leaves also are weed suppressors. So we have the cardboard, the weeds, hopefully will kill a bunch of the leaves on top of cardboard, then we'll kill a lot of the weeds before we start planting next spring. So what we'd like to do is we have, just want to get your, support and approval of this project, this whole concept. We need to get DPW approval to dump some leaves in there. We thought it would be fairly easy, since they're collecting them off the street, just to maybe reroute some in there. And, in addition to the hill, all the soil around where the new trees are planted is not particularly great either. It could use some organic material added there to help them survive. So we are just hoping that you will agree with us. This is a worthwhile project. We've had so many volunteers doing all this work. I mean, Mark has pretty much organized everybody and been cracking the whip, and we've all been getting it done. We will need more volunteers going forward, no matter what we do. There's still a lot more weeds to clear out. In the spring, we'll organize some sort of planting. We're hoping if we get a grant, we have a couple different opportunities to explore to get these plants, and getting water into the site is also an issue that, we've been all summer long, the volunteers carted water in to water these trees. It was incredible through that hot July. In a perfect world, we would run a line to the baseball fields, put in a water refill station, and run it into the area so we have hose. I mean, that would be ideal. So I don't know if we can get that as part of the grant, but that's what we're hoping to explore. Anything else?
No, I think if you go back to just, because we have so many of these discussions, right? And Brian and I were talking about this, like, Brian and I talked about this. Carol and I talked about this, like, nobody knows where this is, so let's.
Only because the folks who are
Oh, sorry.
at home.
So let's just, so if you pull this up again, just get oriented, pull your map up and think of where 3rd Street is. And where you enter here from the north, that's where there's a little gravel parking lot. And that yellow line connects, there's a path there, or a trail, there's a street trail, that connects from this gravel parking lot all the way to the baseball fields. On the east side is where we planted trees sort of in the middle of that yellow stretch. That's where we planted 50 trees. And that purple little spot is where Bonnie has started to put down all the cardboard. That's where the pollinator garden would be. And then notice further east is the brush grinding dump. So if you haven't walked through there to get a perspective of where everything is, I just want to bring up to speed. So then when you go to the next page, go to the page with the 3 pictures. That cardboard is a subset of that purple area. So you understand how big this is.
And it could be, I mean, there's cardboard there just because we've been punching carbon rate down as fast as we can, but, and we thought maybe we started a little bit small, but we could expand it.
But if we could get someone to give us dirt for $1,250, we could go bigly right away.
Yeah.
That's done.
So we're gonna really get that. So, and Brian and I we walked up on the ledge by the brush grinding dump. And the Brian Rice, you could feel the gears turning up there, you could hear them. And there were thoughts, there's a whole bunch we could do in here. We could follow on Bonnie's idea and just expand this out, but we need proof of concept. So we're here tonight because we need your approval. Amazing that we got dirt before we even got approval, but that's good too. That usually doesn't happen. And following.
I don't follow.
The Borough Council, then we would like to go to the council on 14th and get a blessing there. And then we'll get the leaves in and then we'll get the dirt in and then Bonnie's gonna handle the rest. Thank you, Bonnie.
So, thank you. And like I said, it's just all inspiring, the work that you've already done. And so with that, I pose to the commission, any questions or concerns that anybody has, voice them. And two proposals is one to approve the $1,250 for the dirt. And the next is to put together a letter of recommendation to the council that Ms. Cole would present to council on Monday to get their approval. So I am 100% for it, obviously.
Is that a motion?
Okay, so that's a motion.
Two motions.
So I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes,
So the project sounds great. What I'm struggling with is this what we do? Thinking about what we talked about in the last meeting, it seems like we're a body that makes recommendations to the governing body, that we don't really fund projects. So, Ms. Cole, could you shed light on that? You seem to be the person that has the most knowledge about the two groups and our relationship with the governing body. I mean, I like the project. I don't want to do something that causes resistance, or somebody in the future could look back and say, hey, you guys were outside your scope.
It's a fair question. We're talking about, you're a policy body that looks at strategic concerns and makes recommendations, provides feedback. That doesn't exclude you from participating in project level activities, such as, for example, StormX, or for example, gap filling in an ongoing project of this sort, with sort of what is considered leftover dollars at this point. It seems like good use of taxpayer money. That's for the commission to decide, obviously, but you are primarily and most fundamentally a policy body to makes recommendations. And that really is the primary reason why Mark and Bonnie are here tonight, to go over the project and explain it to the Environmental Commission. It just so happens that everybody on the Environmental Commission already gets it. So, but that's the explanation in the presentation, really, to make sure the full commission understands and supports the initiative, so that you can lend support to the project on their behalf to the governing body.
I see. So the motion is to endorse the project, if you will, to the governing body. We're not making a motion to actually fund it. Is that?
no, I have two motions. One is to support the project, and the other is to utilize utilize a bulk of the residuals that's in our budget, that we either use it or lose it. And I thought, in the scope of the project and what our mission is, it made sense to do so. So that's also up for vote.
So sorry, I want to understand it. So if we approve this, does the governing body have to have a vote to expend the funds, or is our approval sufficient to send the check?
I believe it's our approval is sufficient to send a check once we do the purchase order.
the budget that has been allocated to the environmental commission can be spent at the discretion of the commission as a body.
Right.
Okay,
And then the reason for, the governing body still has to embrace the project, which I mean, I think everybody on the council has a tree over there. So it's the beloved project. But this is just to formalize what is and already has great legs, and to acknowledge that we need to maybe put some borough resources here, and in order to engage the DPW more fulsomely, and maybe to look to partner or apply for grants, this is a step in order for the governing body to acknowledge and endorse the project as well.
okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Is that
Brian.
Brian?
Yeah,
Is he Olson?
yeah,
Well, from one Olson to another Olson.
yeah.
Olsons, we gotta stick together. So Brian, to this point, we've done 2 different projects in there. First, we planted 18 trees in the spring, Boy Scout project. It cost the borough $0. All those trees were adopted by residents of Fairhaven. Then we planted 32 more trees in the fall. All those trees were adopted by Fairhaven residents, so it cost the borough $0. So at this point, we've got somewhere around $10,000 in trees. I don't even want to estimate how many thousands of dollars in efforts. Well, I can give it to you. It's probably close to 1,200 hours of labor. At $10 an hour, right? That's $12,000. And it's very cheap.
Who's getting it for $10 an hour?
And water for free. So it's all been free. So when Brian and I were talking this morning, he's like, well, where are you going? Well, we'll put the cardboard down for free. Bonnie's very good at dumpster driving, and she got cardboard out of the dumpsters. We're gonna get the leaves from the DPW free, and then we would need to get dirt, and that's where first time we run into money, so.
And the town has already said they don't have any money, and since we have a budget that is able to be allocated for this project, I thought it was a smart use of our residual budget for the year.
Yeah, no problems with the merits of the project. I just want to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. That's all.
Mhm. So, any other questions or concerns from the commission? So, go ahead.
So the cardboard's it's gonna biodegrade, like at what rate?
So if you've ever composted, if you have, your green, which is all your vegetables and stuff, you put leaves in as your brown, or you put cardboard in. You rip it up, put it in. It is a brown part of composting. It's I've read about it on several YouTubes about people using it to break it down, or kill their lawn if they want to plant a bed or something.
Yeah. Right, so right now it's acting as like
As a weed
Yeah.
barrier.
weed
Yeah.
barrier,
Mhm.
but then if there's more effort involved, like it's not just gonna biodegrade. You're gonna have to.
No, it's,
Like,
No,
You have to
break it
shred it or
apart,
something
right.
like that, or is it?
So
Once they cover it with the leaves and the dirt, I think
it's
it'll,
a 3-layered cake, so at the bottom layer will be the cardboard, then we'll probably have about 4 inches of leaves.
Right,
And then rain and snow, and we'll wear that down, and then in March, we'll bring in the topsoil. And that will probably 2, 3, 4 inches of topsoil on top of the other stuff we'll be breaking down.
and they'll be able to plant
If you
right down there.
shredded the cardboard, if you want to say solid black, you want the weeds undercover, like you don't want
yeah, I
any
understand that
sun.
now, yeah, but I was talking about with the planting.
You start.
I think-
If it was gonna prevent,
Roots.
Yeah.
Well, the plants are gonna plant are not the trees there, that's gonna be your pollinator garden.
This is
with
separate from
your
the trees.
flowers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wait, so the middle picture is today, right?
Yes,
The bottom
Yes.
picture is,
it's what we hope.
Not hope, that's what you're gonna have.
Next August.
Well,
Maybe,
yes,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, the deer are a little bit of an issue over there.
Well, we talked about that too.
As they are everywhere.
No,
Um,
there are no such thing. Yeah, well, we can talk about it, not at this meeting.
Well, I wasn't suggesting any.
So, no, I've looked into it, I've had meetings with the town in the past. And then I didn't really push forward with it, but, there is a way to, help with the deer issue in town. Any other questions? So,
I
I mean,
assume that the soil is like, where's it come from the dirt man?
from the dirt, from risers, so
Yeah, it's
riser
like
is,
certified, you know.
But
Yeah,
so
it's
it's not
there.
gonna have weeds already in it.
no, it's all coming out, if you go to risers, it's coming out of the adjacent yard to his. So it's
Yeah, it would
all,
be important that it doesn't have ivy right there.
Right. and-
no, it's coming out of a grass field, it's their ball, it's where they, I think it's RBC practices, it's their field. So it was just grass. So if you have risers lot here,
Yeah.
right next to it was a ball field, football.
They
And
take
that's-
that- Okay.
They're taking the dirt out of there to put in, I think they're gonna put in turf and everything. So that's where the dirt's coming.
As long as it wasn't killed with chemicals.
It wasn't.
Before we get it,
Nope.
then that's okay.
It wasn't. No, because it was had to be,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know,
standards to
like if it's tested,
a ball field.
you know,
I think maybe we need to
It's
test
good
it.
dirt.
certified.
It's good dirt.
Like a frequent soil sample.
They'll come out and do a soil.
Yeah,
sample.
yeah,
Right,
maybe.
Rutgers will do that.
Yeah.
Just because you wouldn't want to take all that dirt and find out.
Yes. it's very
I would, yeah, it's a good point, but I can pretty much guarantee that. it's-
Yeah, just, you know,
So,
due diligence. That's-
my vote is a yes vote on both. Can we vote both of them?
You should vote on them, maybe
Yeah.
separately since one.
All
costs
right,
money.
so the first vote would be to support the project.
Do we have a second?
You do now. Are you seconding?
I will. I do
Okay.
want to make sure that we do it by the rules if we're spending money.
Yeah, no, this is just to support the project in terms of suggesting to the council, a letter to the council will go before the council meeting on Monday, the 14th.
Okay, I'll
So
second
that's the
that.
first- Okay, thank you. And the second vote is to allocate $1,250 to purchase the dirt, which will be delivered sometime in March. Will you call for it, Bonnie and Mark? So I need a second for that. Okay, so that's approved.
Did you vote?
We need to vote.
Oh, okay, so anybody opposed, who's opposed to it?
Can we do a roll call?
Yeah, we will. So go ahead, do the roll call.
For the first motion to endorse the project to the governing body,
Yes.
Kelly Flanagan,
Approve, yes.
Brian Olson,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
Yes.
Brian Rice.
Yes.
Second part, motion to expend $1,250 from the environmental commission budget towards this project. Kelly Flanagan,
Yes.
Brian Olson,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
Yes.
Brian Rice.
Yes,
Both pass.
thank you. Thank you, Brian. That was.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We did
Um,
really beautiful.
Yeah.
thing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
You're doing just unbelievable work.
Brian, Brian Olson, they circulated a handout as a visual aid for this. I will email that to you so that you can see it in the rest of the commission.
Thank you.
Okay, Christie, do you have the dates?
Yes.
So we have the next is to vote for the 2023 Fairhaven Environmental Commission meeting dates.
So the calendar's going to print in last meeting, the environment, the consensus was to keep the second Wednesday of the month at 7:30. After further review, month by month, I just wanted to address that the second Wednesday in April is the whole week of spring break. So I don't know if we wanted to choose another date in April. There's a lot of April meetings because of that break kind of moving all around.
How about the following Wednesday?
We have the previous month, March, your meeting is March 8th. So I
Okay.
feel like maybe try to push it before break, because that would be huge, like 7 weeks span, wait till after.
That's
break.
fine.
So the dates available are April 3rd, which is a Monday. April 4th, that's a Tuesday. I don't know, that would be agreeable.
And you checked it with other things?
Yeah.
Okay.
That coincides with the Borough County. I'm fine with either date. I don't think I'm busy on the 3rd or the 4th.
April.
Right.
Right.
Of April 2023.
I know I'm busy on 4/20.
Next week.
Oh, wait, I'm busy 4/20, but not those 2 dates that I know of. So, you want to do it on that Tuesday then, the 4th?
Monday.
I could do it, I think. We haven't come up with our green team yet, so.
So, do we need to vote on it, or we're just good with the? All right,
There's one
so,
more thing before we vote.
go ahead.
Also, I didn't know if you were planning to take a summer recess. In the past couple of years, you've been taking August as recess.
I,
Or you want to just put on the calendar and then cancel it if you change your mind. It's up to you guys.
I do know I'm not here in August. Yeah, that's assuming I'm still on the EC. Because my commission's up this year. Yours is up. But I think we do it the way we've been doing it, just keep it on the calendar,
Cancel it.
Summer recess.
and yeah,
We can't.
Or
get
keep
more.
it.
well, just keep it, and
And
we
then
can,
cancel it,
we
right,
can
yeah.
cancel. Fine.
Okay, and
Right.
then I will, so motion to approve the second Wednesday of every month at 7:30, with the exception of April, which will be on Monday, April 3rd, or Tuesday, April.
Tuesday, April 4th. Please. Did we talk about time? I've always been
So,
hung up at the
I was gonna
7:30.
say that is a rec commission meeting night, but they're a committee, not a commission, and they don't meet in person.
They
But if
haven't
You do
been.
have people that would like to attend both, that's the only thing. So I don't know, Monday is pretty clear of everything.
Then we'll do it Monday the 3rd.
Okay.
Alright.
Fine with me.
All in favor of that meeting schedule for 2023?
Yeah.
Thank you. Also, Ralph asked me to suggest a vote for this December meeting next month, if it should be held or not. I know that Brian had responded that your feelings with that there's no reason not to. I didn't know.
And think there
He
was.
just
a
asked me
reason.
to address it, so.
It's
Putting it
I'm just looking at the
December
calendar
14th.
now. The 14th. I-
I'm here.
yeah, I'm here,
I'm here.
as far as I know. I hope to be here.
All right,
You
so
never
the
know.
December meeting stands. Thank you. I will
Yeah.
let him know.
Yes, please, thank you.
That is all.
Thank you, Chris. So that's done. Green Team Kelly.
Okay, just a little, update. Thank you, Brian. We have a couple, things we just had this past Friday. We had the Norwood, anti-idling ribbon cutting ceremony at Norwood School. The Norwood Green Team actually hosted it. We had Superintendent Sean McNeil, we had David Joy, we had Mayor Halpern there. It was a great little ceremony at the end of school. We printed, thanks to the EC and our support and budget, we printed these educational bookmarks, and I have a couple. I apologize, I don't think I brought enough for everybody here, but you will be able to find them in the Fairhaven Public Library as well. And it's, we care about our air, and just send facts on the back. Did you know about anti-idling or idling and their effects on health and the environment, and also our pockets, because it wastes gas as well. So we hope to invite or have the Norwood Green Team come to Sickles one day after school during dismissal, and hand these out to the parents as well at Sickles. But it's great. The kids made posters. They talked a little bit about what idling means, and we just hope to keep this initiative going, especially through the colder months, as people tend to be more prone to idling in their cars. So that is that one. We also still are hung up on these stickers. We tried to go to the mail for the recycling stickers. We tried to see if the post office would be able to mail them for us. They cannot if they're not in envelope, as is, without envelope.
Well, what happened to the Boy Scout project?
I don't think we ever had a Boy Scout project. What's the letter in
Hmm.
that? We did?
Mhm.
Okay. We were thinking about like community or neighborhood captains, kind of like Dormer Dreams that do, but the problem is you can't leave it on the, you'd have to have it in the mail. Are you not able to put something in the mailbox? What was that?
Legally.
Legally?
No, but we can hang it on the door,
How do you hang
put it in a little biodegradable bag.
it? Budget.
Well, we
That would
gotta
just
take,
be-
we gotta take the dirt money back.
But, you know,
Um,
I mean, and if you leave it on the doorstep, it might fly away. I don't know. So we're still trying to. come
There's
up
gotta
with-
be a way.
I'm sure. And, you know,
People leave stuff in mailboxes all the time.
So bulk mail, it's not that much money.
but we can't mail it without an envelope.
Well, you'd have to
You
buy
have
an
to,
envelope,
yes,
but
but they're not standard size. So we'll see.
remember remember the numbers I gave you guys? Is it like, remember?
I don't.
I have them in my office for bulk mail.
It was like $160 or 500.
Come to my office with the envelopes and run to the mail machine. I own the business.
Yes, I know. I mean, and that's maybe where we can like work with our business friends here as well.
Let's
but-
just do it in my
Or,
office.
you know, well, I don't also mind just having them at different events as well too. We have Shop Small Saturday coming up. We
Right.
have the holiday stroll coming up too. We could set up an environmental commissioner green team booth at one of them and get,
We should have done it on mischief night and just send the kids out with stickers and put them on the cans.
You mean-
Nobody would know.
you know, but I wonder if there is an opportunity to somehow be present at the business stroll that usually gets a lot of people downtown, and you could hand this out with, you know, I wonder if that's a good,
The big thing is, just because they have it, doesn't mean they're gonna put it on the
totally,
can.
I get it, and not everyone wants on the can, like,
And they don't own a can.
I prefer to have it in my kitchen where I can see it.
Right. But the people don't own the cans.
It is borough property,
Correct.
right?
You think about this.
Yeah, you wonder if you could just, if
You just
you
put it on the
put it on
can.
borough property, it is borough
It's
property.
borough property. We don't own the can.
Actually, I thought that was the intention, but then
Yes.
you mentioned you liked.
But you know, we do have more, there's 2,100 residents, and we've got 3,000 of these.
Right.
So there are available, and this will be going out in the municipal calendar, that same sheet of what you can and cannot. So I can see where you just put it on, smack it on the cans.
Yeah.
And then,
Just send the Eagle Scouts out. Put it on a can
or Girl Scouts,
or whatever.
yeah,
Eagle Scout.
sure. Right, that's one way to do. Yeah. If anyone else has any other suggestions, I do.
Like on Wednesdays, every recycling day, leave your can out. and
Yeah.
stuff them on.
Yeah,
Sure.
right?
There you go.
That's not a bad idea. And then we can have some left over for events
Right.
in the library or the
Mhm.
borough hall.
If they want to
People
put it on
come
their
in,
fridge or whatever.
right.
Sure.
Right, that's not a bad idea.
Okay.
Okay, let's see, so we will be, there's a few of us going to the Sustainable Jersey Luncheon next Tuesday down at Atlantic City to officially get the silver award for Sustainable Jersey, which would be great. We could bring that back
Mhm.
and hang it up on Borough Hall. So that is good and going. We also are trying to promote, you know, to residents, and we'll be putting some social media posts and following up with what Betty Ann also put about how to leave your pumpkins, what to do with them. If you saw that in the recent Borough Buzz, which was fantastic, she did a whole big of what not to do with your pumpkins, don't throw them in the trash. And then also in alignment with that, just talking about leaving your leaves in the bed and trying to, you know, keep that for many reasons. Now, there was also a really good talk by Doug Talamy that was, people were invited to see last Wednesday, and I know I shared it with so the members of the EC. We have a video recording of it.
I circulated it to the EC.
Oh, fantastic, thank you. I know there was also talk about somehow even expanding that to residents too, that might be interested in finding out and learning more about the importance of trees.
How did I take that up at Outreach and Communications?
Sure. Okay, great. And that's it for the green team. And we're just looking forward to collaborating with the Norwood Green Team, which has seemed to have gotten off the ground a little bit. So that's
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to talk about the Norwood Green Gardens, or do you, can I just talk real quickly about that? Okay, sure. So I just want to also say another thing that the Green Team has been helping with Norwood and the Environmental Commission has been helping. We helped to plant some additional plants and shrubs for their Norwood Rain Garden that's in there. So Brian was great, went down and picked up 20 shrubs.
Mhm.
And Bonnie was there, Rob, a bunch of the Green Team members, and also the Norwood Green Team met after school on one Wednesday and dug and planted these shrubs, which is great. We have a neat little sign that says this is a friendly, pollinator friendly or rain garden area. But we hope to also do the cardboard and the leaves and the soil, kind of replicate what the 3rd Street Trail project is going to do, and hope to plant some pollinator flowers and plants in the spring as well. Do you would like to follow up on that? I think the only issue is just how we can also support, or are we going to support the Norwood Rain Garden next year? And that could be like whether we add a little bit in the
Yeah,
budget
well,
or not.
so we needed to talk real quick about the next year's budget, and we can increase it by 2%. My vote is to do that. And part of that budget does go to projects like the rain gardens. To help defray the cost of them. Or in this case, we bought the plants, which were cheaper than your bookmark. But well, because I didn't include fuel,
Right,
delivery cost.
And planting or labor.
Yeah, or planning your labor. So yeah, and the rain gardens that was started all the way back in 2016 with the inventory that Rutgers did. So we would like to put in some more rain gardens on some of the other sites, which we can refer back to that. But that could be under, developing next year's project goals. But yeah, I think that it definitely makes sense to put in for it, and I don't know how that we have to facilitate that, but to increase the budget by 2%. So we'll have almost $3,000 to spend this year.
So
and-
doesn't the budget also include Green Team?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it's all under the same.
Right.
So it does make sense. What we've been remiss in the past is not asking for money, because we never really thought of anything to spend it on. But now we are thinking of all kinds of things to help beautify and make, our town more sustainable. So I would say that, yes, we will still have appropriations of funds for the Norwood Rain Gardens and continue to support that. And I'll drive down to Pinelands and pick them up.
Quick question, was the Green Team prepared, as sort of half of the answer to the question I'm gonna ask, but has your action plan for 2023 been finalized, and do you have estimates for those project goals in
Right.
place?
And that's what we are still working on that. And I'm
Okay.
hoping to, that's why I think our budget, because this past Green Team, a lot of the stuff was not covered because there were not POs and we didn't know the process of it, so a lot was out of pocket. But I think having a better understanding of events that we're hosting, like Love Where You Live Day, that we hope to kind of offset some of our costs of printing and things.
Yeah.
So,
So do you?
is there a date that we
Well,
need
let's-
to have a
December
estimate
2nd.
budget?
December 2nd.
December 2nd.
Before the end of the
But I mean, we can only increase it by 2% anyway,
Is that right?
So
technically.
I think it also matters that we understand what you want to do with the money.
Sure.
Right.
I get it.
Because the budget is approved by the governing body. And well, I'm sure they could see a reason for a 2%. I mean, if you said, but hey, this is very important and it's inconsistent with the goals of the master plan, and we've seen evidence of it, you know, you make a case, and you say we need 12,000 for this. And at least the governing body gets a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I'd rather build a budget from the bottom up. You know, tell us what you plan to do with the money, what projects you want to do, and go that way rather than top down.
Right. And isn't that also what we were trying to, we haven't even finalized our top priorities and goals.
No,
right?
that's what we're gonna get
Okay.
to next.
Because there might be some things that the EC wants for their budget as well, right? And so
Right.
I think allocating that
Yeah,
according to
so
objectives.
lead into,
Sure.
you know, so what are we thinking for, I know the last meeting went over projects and goals. So now we have to think of those projects and goals in terms of a monetary, you know, perspective. Do we think the 3,000 is enough, or do we have projects over and above that we are, you know, we want to work on? I know I'd like to, well, we haven't even installed the first Stormex. And that's not a huge, well, that wasn't
Is that
paid for,
coming out of
that
it?
did not come out of our budget. So there are certain projects that will fit into some other areas of the budget that'll be covered, like Stormex, because there's a stormwater management budget or grant
And what about
to do
with
that.
living shorelines? Where the next
That's-
step with that?
That's gonna be a whole grant
Yeah.
in and of itself.
May I just clarify something? Because I think that was a great example of the Environmental Commission identifying an accessible pilot project that at not great expense we could try. And it was, of course, I reported that out at council. That in that case, even at the project level, you formulated a thought idea based on goals. Stormwater management, living on the river is as a high priority, and it was conveyed to council. Clearly no objection. There were funds for clean communities, and that'll get implemented. That's an example where you don't need to have the money in your budget, but if it gets supported, then and provided there is money elsewhere, then those things can happen. It may not in certain instances, but identifying the goal or the project objective is the most important piece. That's a good example of if you haven't done that.
No, and I appreciate that. It was something that we came up with that hopefully I have no reason it won't work. And if we can put it at the enhance and in the grades, you know, be more better.
So, well, anyway,
So the budget would include not any, well, it could, I don't know, to Brian's point, what major projects that would fall under the EC that we would need to budget for
Well,
off the top of my head.
wasn't it to hire a consultant for the ERI, like a professional service? I think that came up,
That's one of them.
That's one of the items, and I don't know.
which I think would come out of, right, our budget?
well, in that instance, if it was half the money, the council would have to decide if it was important enough to allocate money for it.
Because it's gonna be over and above the $3,000.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But simply identifying it as a goal says something, even if you can't put a dollar figure next to it. It says it's a fundamental planning document that I think it's only 5 years old at the moment or something like
About that.
6 something. So,
Yeah, Jesse.
But it was Jessie herself that was the only one, right?
Yeah.
So that's.
Well, we all contributed to
Well,
it.
right, but I
Jesse-
mean, there was not like a expert.
Right, no, it was all put together in-house.
she is an expert, and I have to say
She
the
is.
document reads very professionally.
And so with that, do we have to go outside and hire a consultant?
You wouldn't.
Right.
It would be done by the governing body.
No, I mean,
but
we being the government, being
part of government.
part of government.
Like we did it last time.
Well, no, Jesse did
Split
it.
it up. Well, yeah,
We've split it up, but I don't know what I'm getting at is what more would we get if we hired an outside consultant as opposed to updating it ourselves utilizing Jesse's talents?
Well, you would get a professional who would be here to sort of walk you through the preparation of a very important document that would guide policy, a strategic funding.
How
for
much more
years.
robust do you think it would be than what we have?
I think you're nearing, I can see several things that are not in it just because time has passed.
Right.
And so it's nearing, it's not certainly very useful still. But, you know, say for example, the Environmental Commission said, among the things that are important to us is that an updated ERI, we need to keep it up to date. It's functional in its current form, but in a year's time, we know we will need to update it. So that's putting it on the front burner saying, hey, governing body, pay attention to this because maybe not this year, but next year, we're gonna need to allocate funding, you know, does it mean
But
you're flagging it as a policy body?
understood.
Okay.
But how much more robust? Well, I understand we need to keep it updated and current, and there's certain things in there that have changed that we have not changed it because we haven't updated in 5 years, but it's pretty up to date to your point that it's still a usable document. If we hired somebody for, let's call it $20,000 to update it, how much more of a robust ERI are we going to have as opposed to doing, or we got, and what's that 20 grand getting at?
A fully comprehensive, real-time environmental resource inventory.
I'm just trying to get at, why can't we do that ourselves?
I don't think Jesse wants to either,
It's-
right? Or like people, like, I mean, not like anybody, it was a lot to do.
I know, I lived it,
Anyway,
but
right?
So here's the deal, when you wanna spend tax dollars and you wanna base that decision on a document that has, you wanna make sure it's been professionally produced, that it has all the latest information, that it, you know, tax dollars, it's our job, right? We need to be prudent in how we manage.
right, that's what I'm getting at.
So we really can't make allocations. I'm not comfortable, I'll just own it myself. I'm not comfortable putting a volunteer in a position of having to be the voice that says, you know, this is why we should spend $200,000 of the community's tax dollars. It needs to be professionally produced. In our case, we got really lucky because Jessie is professional, but asking her to do it again seems an imposition. Put it bluntly.
I mean,
I would agree.
should we talk to Jesse first?
I certainly have my conversations with Jessie, but I'm just telling you as a member of the council.
But it would be basically just a recommendation from us as a commission to the council to hire an outside.
To think about what
Source
the age of
to-
it and when,
right.
when to get it updated.
Okay, but again, it wouldn't be our budget.
No,
Just so I
correct.
So what are our thoughts? And it's been talked, or what's been talked about, of budgetary items for 2023 that we would need to put in for additional budget over and above the 2%? Is the question.
Are we, I'm not convinced that we're just gonna ask for 2% more than last year. I'd like to build a budget, you know, going line by line, what we want to spend money on.
That's
we
the
wanna spend
question, and nobody's come up with any.
Well, I'll tell you what, the green team definitely has expenses and I apologize that I don't have it right here. I didn't think we were going through the budget right now. But I can easily get that for you line by line and just say, and obviously that, you know, we're hoping that there's also, because of the rider that we passed too, you know, perhaps there's some additional funding. So it doesn't all have to come, depending on what the EC wants to use that, allocate that money towards as well. Is there any instance, and maybe you can help us, where, for instance, with the living shoreline and getting that arc, you know, somebody to come back in there in engineering, is that gonna have to come from our budget as well? No, okay. So what are some things, and maybe this is the reason why the EC in the past has not used a budget.
Yeah,
Apart, you know, so what are some of
100%
the
why.
things that the EC,
So far this year, the EC budget that was 2975. Almost 500 was spent on Anject dues.
Right,
Sustainability Summit Conference, rain garden materials, bookmarks, luncheon, the Zoom reimbursement. It's basically operational.
it's operational in nature,
And
So we-
educational,
right.
Yeah,
right?
So we didn't have any specific project where you said, okay, we need, we're gonna budget $3,000 for,
the stickers were funded from.
because that stuff comes from a bigger pool, i.e.
So this 2975,
Town
that could
budget.
have a cap of 2% increase for the operational first aid budget would be spent on items like this.
Right, and that was what I was
Not
looking at, unless we
budget
had
goals.
something.
And one of the reasons why this was also more expensive, because we don't have a designer.
You don't have to.
I know, but you know what, I have to include design fees, so when
Right.
you're like making printed material like this, and you're
Right.
trying to come up with this, we don't have a professional designer on our team, on our
Right.
staff.
No, it's
And
fine.
so, and that's what I'm saying, like, for, other things that we want to talk about with our budget, in talking about the green team and talking about the easy, like, some of the educational materials that we use, includes printed material, educational material. We were, the design fees, even, miscellaneous, we host events.
Right.
So miscellaneous supplies and food perhaps at some of these events. We would like to have a speaker come in, so if any kind of speaker fees that we have to,
Mhm.
we've been lucky to have pro bono, but we've in the past had a composting workshop and we've hired the Monmouth, expert gardeners. And they have a fee, a speaking fee, a visiting fee. So I think would be happy to put this line by line in the budget item for you guys and get it to you.
I
No
would,
problem.
well, and that's why I go back to my point is that we have a budget today. We've been able to live within the budget. We don't need any big additional budget items that we can think of. There are some bigger projects we want to do, but again, that money will come out of the borough budget if there's room for it and if we can, like stormwater management, so on and so forth. So I go back to, again, asking for the 2% cap, and I understand what you're saying, Brian. And then have this budget to be able to, and then you know what we have, we know what we have within that budget to do what we need to do to operate the east.
But didn't we just say we had $1,500 left over that went to dirt? So we didn't spend the 2,900. So why do we need to have 2%
But the
increase?
reason, but that's also one of the reasons because of logistics, because when the green team was doing, we were versed with how to, waiting the length of time for the POs. For doing all the printing materials for Love Where You Live Day and the vendors, approved vendors and getting all that. We just weren't knowledgeable of that. So all that printing material and a lot of that infrastructure that we had to buy for those events was just based or donated from volunteers in the green team. So a lot of that's left over is because we
We-
just couldn't meet the deadline or the procedural deadlines through the borough for that material.
And I think when you guys finally say, this is our budget request for 2023, it says, this is what we want to do. And one of the line items is green team, and you have seen their plan for 2023 and you know what that plan costs. So that number is nested within, and if it's over 2%, that's fine as far as, I mean, it has to cover, ideally it covers what you want to accomplish, and your green team mission is a subset of what you did.
So let's work on that and we'll put it together before December.
Second, sure.
So we're gonna have, so by December 2nd, we have a budget with, buckets at least, or it doesn't have to be detailed line items, but like green team needs X $1,000 and our speaking fees and our conferences and memberships, just sort of these line items that we can tally up and then vote on.
Yeah.
Is that sounds good.
Yeah, proposed budget by December 2nd.
Right.
Okay.
ERI, we spoke about, Jesse's not here. Navigant River, I am here. We have one issue in our town. I'll go town by town. I'll start with ours. There was a problem with the pump station on Fourth Creek, which is behind Church Street. One pump went out, the secondary pump did not come online and was air, and then did come online, was airbound. So there was some, and I don't know the exact figure, how much sewage ended up in Fourth Creek and it's into the river. It happens, but I know they've been there 3 times to do extensive clean out. I will get an update from Mike Gianforte, who's the executive director at the Water Reclamation Center, Two River Water Reclamation, to see if they need to do any bigger work there to rectify it. According to him, the last conversation we had, it was a small amount, but we don't want any amounts into the water. And they did a bunch of cleanouts, which I witnessed because it's right outside my office. So the property, Fourth Creek runs under River Road, and then there's a manhole actually in somebody's driveway next to my office. So that's development there. Red Bank's always an issue, still an issue. As you probably have seen, a lot of infrastructure is being done. A lot of it has to do with stormwater systems to be, they've been upgrading their systems slowly but surely. But there still are issues. They found one manhole that Bill Hedendorf from the DEP water monitoring, Bureau of Water Monitoring, opened it and was filled with plastic and cups, and they said they were gonna clean it out. He went back, still filled. Whether it filled up again, I looked at the pictures and tried to discern if it was the same stuff in there from. So this stuff happens, it shouldn't, so we're on top of them. Middletown, there's still a little bit of an issue coming out of McLeese Creek across from Fairhaven Dock and our property. And we're trying to track that down. If it wasn't for that, the river was really close to an upgrade by like 6 points. So all the work that we've been doing is obviously working, paying off. But then we get we hit a bump. So we're working on that. Rumson has an issue still under the Oceanic Bridge, but I met with them and their head of DPW, and they're gonna just fix it the way that I had suggested to do it, which is similar to what we did at the end of Fairhaven Road, to dig it out, put in some riprap. What happens is the tide washes up and plugs the end of the stormwater system. And people will say, well, what's the big deal? Nothing will come out of it. Well, the big deal is nothing does come out of it, and it all breeds bacteria, breeds more bacteria, so on and so forth. Then when you get a big rain event, it's like flushing your toilet if you hadn't flushed it for a couple weeks. So you need to have that flow continuing. So they're working on that. Mark Wellner's working on that with so that is the updates on that front.
I'll ask you a question.
Yes.
That's so, I wonder if the council would be interested in hearing that report directly from you on occasion. It's so important.
As long as you have enough room in the budget, I'll show them.
Huh?
Your speaker budget, no, I'll, if you want me there Monday, I can come Monday.
I will,
Whatever.
I don't set the agenda, but I will speak to those.
See,
that
yeah,
do.
just shoot me a text.
Even if it's just something to know that you are available and,
I'm available.
okay, I would think it would be.
Mhm. So the Stormex also is part of my report for the Navesink River. The Stormex is going to collect the solids at the end of Fairhaven Road. It's literally just a big net. And it was ordered. I'm not happy about the delays. They said 6 to 8 weeks. I think we're coming up on 8 weeks. So we should have it shortly, and we can install it ourselves, which is good, meaning DPW can install it, and it's basically just a big ring that goes around the pipe that holds the net. And they've, as I've reported before, they'll empty it I'll monitor it and see how much we get out of that. I'm hoping that, I don't see a lot of solids coming out there. But it's a good pilot project, as you alluded to earlier, to then go to Hants Road, which Ralph is always picking up cups and plastic and stuff like that. So this will alleviate the solids going into the
Will you
river.
let us know when that gets installed? And put, because I mean, it would be nice to just keep track, like seriously document all this stuff from
I'm
it
allowed
and
to.
actually have a log and identification.
Yeah.
Just data collection. would be
Yeah, I'm
really
gonna
important.
do my best to, because it's right
Sure.
next to our
Right.
property. So I will take as much inventory as I can. And
Sure.
we can also- That's why I wanted to do it
So just some
there.
projects as well.
Right, because it's such an easy place to
Sure.
access, where Hants Road's not so easy, Grange's not so easy.
Okay.
So that's that. Living shoreline, I don't know where it stands.
Right, what's our next steps?
We have communication from this body to the governing body. I believe it was put in something you guys might not know that yet, which is what do we call it? It's a packet of communication. It's a legal communications packet. And I'm going to, along with a whole lot of other stuff, less relevant stuff. So I'm going to pull it out and going to present it at the council meeting. I also know that there's a $78,000 in prior that has been allocated specifically for this area in years prior. And you can't move that around. So it is still applicable for this project.
Right.
I'm going to carry the message. I
Thank you.
certainly think it's a very compelling project, a worthy project.
And clearly it was like a priority in a couple of EC members. that we'd
Yeah.
like to see this.
Yeah, when I started to look into it, as soon as the park was purchased, it was a high priority item. And we brought in the Borough Society at a time that there was funding available for it. So it's good that it's back on our radar. And anything I can do to help.
Thank you.
To the point where, I might be able to get us to donate some time and equipment to install it.
There's a piece of engineering work that still needs to be
We're
done.
waiting for Rich to do that. I don't know.
It actually has to get outsourced. It's an environmental engineer that we need. It's
Okay.
different than his skill set.
Okay.
So, it's a matter of the governing body deciding it's a priority and using the money to take that step. I, for one, will be supporting it. So, next steps.
Council update. It's you again.
There's a lot going on.
Well, in regards to, how does it relate to the EC?
Well, as it relates to the environmental commission, I try to be your liaison and also try to maintain a strategic perspective. And what I mean by that is I facilitate what you want to accomplish. And then I also courier thoughts and the goings on at council as it may relate to your initiatives. And I see kind of a gap at the moment, but it's probably just, it's time, right? I mean, we're finally addressing McCarter Pond, and then you can turn your attention just about anywhere else and see Schwanker's is literally solidifying.
Yep.
The 4th Creek, it should be a conservation corridor. What does that mean? We should study it, understand it, put in some land use regulations. We are bound by the river and we're still growing into what green infrastructure is. So when I say strategic, I mean I want to be able to express to you the scope of your responsibilities, you know, in looking at all of it. And at the last meeting, I think it was Ralph who specifically said it would be good to get direction. If there is some want or recommendation specific that the governing body would like from the Environmental Commission, Ralph asked for that. So what that means to me is I need to start a conversation with the governing body about the 200 plus acres of open space that we have in Fairhaven, would be at wetland, woodland, barren, right? We have some land that's categorized as barren, some of which I'm sure is the 3rd Street Trail, which is no longer barren. And that all to me points to a conservation plan that's a strategy for how we assess our existing conditions and maintain and really look to manage that 200 plus acres of all sorts of different types of natural areas, which really probably in fairness hasn't been a priority, which we can all say things that are left to if they don't get any attention after a while, you start to really jump out of you. So it seems to me we need to put some attention into the areas. Starts with a plan, which starts with a professional.
Right. So, and always the biggest hurdle is, you know, finding $1,250 for dirt, right? Is trying to find the money, the resources to do these projects. To, you know, I mean, it'd be great to get $250,000, whatever the number is, to totally take care of the natural area in the 3rd Street Trail and and have it all done, right? And that's not huge. It's a big lift, right? So I would say as part of the pitch or conversation with council is to say, look, we've got to appropriate X amount a year so that they don't have to come to us, right? And be able to say, okay, and it could be driven probably by us to say, you know, to do the inventory and look at it with an eye to priority, right? And say, and of course, my priority might be different than yours and so on and so forth. But at least then we would know as a commission to say, okay, there's X amount of money in this year's budget, 2023, to be able to do this. Okay, let's go after these projects. Let's hire the professionals, whether it's a tree guy or a, you know, whatever, to go in there and do it. And I think that, because that's always a holdup, right? It is the dollars.
Well, I would argue that if you have a good maintenance and management plan, conservation management plan, you know, it's not a continuous, you don't have to continue to make the case. The
No.
case is made if the plan is adopted, then tax dollars get allocated and grant applications get sent out, and
Right.
it's all done hand in hand with the community.
100%.
This commission, very natural area, the residents that live around McCarter, whether they're organized or not, if people care about this stuff, they can show up and be part of the covering of this plan. And some of the interventions that are needed might have price tags. Some of the interventions or some of the maintenance and management things may not be very expensive. It might just be something we have to put on DPW's list every year. Maybe
100%.
we even need maybe a different piece of equipment, or maybe we, you know, but that's all stuff we don't know until we acknowledge we don't know it and bring in the kind of expertise to
Agreed.
prepare a plan that can be agreed upon.
Yeah,
It's the
once
kind of
we,
guidance we need.
once we get these areas to the point where they need to be and let nature
Yeah,
do its thing, the big thing is allowing nature to do that, right? And you have these invasives and all species that don't allow this to a point. So yeah, to your point, that it would just be a maintenance item for DPW, okay? And we've talked about this before, years ago, and it just never really happened.
But isn't it also,
And it always came down to budget.
but isn't it also making sure that it's a priority, that it's not just the EC's priority, but it also becomes more of a borough of residents, a
Yes.
council priority like that? And I know that we've had that roundtable with different groups, and I know that this has been something that as a common theme about upkeep, maintenance, preservation of our open space and conservation of our, more balanced, how we manage it. And I think that, but just relaying this further up to our decision making so that it does become a part of our ethic and our decision making automatically. So it shouldn't have to be, we recommend it every time. It should be
Exactly.
embedded,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's
That-
part of what residents want. in
That
Fairfield.
was the point that when I came up with the roundtable idea, to bring everybody to the table. And, my priorities are gonna be different than your priorities or your priorities, but we have to still look at it as a total
Sure.
piece of the pie.
Right, and I think
in
that,
town, and not reinvent the wheel every year.
right, but I do think that there was a lot more common ground met there amongst all these different commissions, and I guess, I don't know if this is here in this council update, but I also personally want to know what's the follow-up with that, and how do we bring that to a larger, to, what do we do next to,
And I think with the ERI and that'll be the roadmap. Oh, and then, once you get to a point of just maintenance, it should be able to be done in-house.
Oh, you were asking about the roundtable next
Well,
steps.
you
I think
know-
Oh, the
that's what-
roundtable next up?
there's a couple things I'm asking, right, so,
Right,
because we had this very informative and great kind of alignment between among these, a lot of these different groups. Natural Fields area, Green Team, EC, Shade Tree wasn't, there are two present, historic
There was a-
planning,
yeah.
zoning.
Yeah.
But, how can we also make it a larger group so that although EC is for, are we bringing that back at some point?
We're doing,
And what's the
so we
next
have
step of
another
that?
meeting scheduled,
Yeah,
and it's up to, well, you'll send the email again.
I don't know when it is. If you want to send me.
What was the date? Did we set a date?
No, not yet.
Right,
Just
so
an
let's-
intention to do so.
Right, so let's set a date. And then Christie will do the same email. So all the different committees and commissions to get more participation, we can maybe give a little outline of what we discussed, kind of like little minutes.
I would recommend that you
And-
go in with a goal so that you have a work product outcome.
And I would say the goal is to have each commission bring their, concern, their projects or concerns of what they want out of it. And have a more productive, not that it wasn't productive, it was extremely productive. But to continue it and continue to build it.
Top three.
Hmm?
Top three.
Right, top 3 priorities.
This commission did that last meeting and I put together a grid in the note in
I saw
the
that.
minutes.
Right, in the minutes.
I didn't know if you were going to formulate, just like run that list, just the top collectively, or everyone's allowed to have their own, or you're gonna dwindle that down or consolidate it?
We want to dwindle it down. I
Yes,
don't
there's
know if we have enough people to do that today.
Yeah.
Is the problem. So,
I'll just keep that on the agenda for December.
yes,
Yeah.
please. Thank you. Thank you. Planning board update, Brian Olson.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, we did not have a meeting. It was, there was no agenda, so there's no update.
it's easy. Do we have any new business? Public comment?
Do
We
you
have
want to do
any-
in the room first?
Anybody want to comment on this meeting or others? Come on up.
All right, I'm a little rusty, it's been a while since I've been here, so forgive me.
You are a lot shorter.
Well, now I got the power of the deal. So I have a little bit more leverage now. So,
Hi.
you know, until like what, eighth grade? It was pre-COVID.
Yeah,
I've been here
it was
years.
pre-COVID.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know me, I've had a name change, so I was Emma Owendoff previously, but now it's more Emma Jerry, but I kind of go by both, so it's kind of confusing, but it keeps things.
I was confused by that, so thank you
Yeah,
for clarifying.
sorry about that, yeah.
Don't be sorry.
It's pretty recent thing, so, but for background, I'm a junior at RFH now. I feel, okay, I know, I'm not old. People just give me that. But also on like a background of what I've done previously, I went to Knollwood. I was there for technically 2 years, but then COVID kind of cut at like my 8th grade year, 3/4. So while I was there, there was obviously the Education Foundation grant program that I was part of. And I did win that. Not to my or anything, but I proposed to bring a new recycling program to Knollwood, being that I saw those like single stream thing, and the awareness of recycling obviously wasn't as big as it is now, because you guys have like the stickers and everything. And obviously the year that I was supposed to put that into effect was the COVID year. So that kind of got derailed. I did a presentation beginning half of the year, and I think about like 2 weeks later, pandemic. So literally the worst possible time it could have been. And one of the staff members that was a part of that program, I emailed her asking her if I could try to put this program back into effect, because I didn't have the ability to do it last year. Or not last year. 3 years ago? 2 years?
Yeah, too.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, but now that like everything's open again, I wanted to try and bring it back, because I had big dreams and I wanted to keep going. And she did answer me back, but it was simply put a little confusing the way she responded to that, and a little unclear. So on that, I was wondering if there was like any ideas on how to get this program back in effect, because apparently, according to the email that she did send me, she said that now that I wasn't able to pay for everything and buy everything that I wanted to, because when I was about to do that again, COVID. And now that I don't go to Knollwood anymore, it's not really, I can't really put into effect that same money that I had then, because I only got to use $770 if I remember correctly. I think it's ballpark range of the 2,000 I was granted. And on that, I feel like this TerraCycle program would be a good thing to bring back into, especially right now, because you guys have like the sticker thing going on, and there's a change in what's recyclable in town. And I think that would also help as a way of bolstering that, and to also make, again, more aware and even take it to the next level. This, for obviously, may not know what TerraCycle is, but it's a company that's based in Trenton, New Jersey, that recycles things that are previously unrecyclable, such as like when I was at Knollwood, I made a musical instrument strings box for recycling, because over there, you got kids learning how to play things with strings and breaking them every 5 seconds. And the accumulation of all that kind of pointed me into that direction. But again, unfortunately, due to COVID things, it kind of got derailed, and I'm not sure where to get a fund of some sort for this. And I was wondering if you guys would have any sort of idea for that, because trying to get through back to that money that I did not have access to, unfortunately, has been definitely challenging. So,
Yeah, and a little more backstory. This was the original grant that we thought we could utilize for the plants for the rain gardens, which we were going to, and then you said that it was restarted and that the original mission was back on track, so it's not. And you need our help to get it on track somehow.
somehow, yes, because trying to get through the school through the way that I have been, I feel like a different approach would be better. Because I've been trying this one way, and so far it has been fruitless.
So do we have an outline of the program?
Yes, I believe I emailed you a,
I have it.
yeah, all of that. That is the best place to get information from.
All right, do me a favor, send it to me again.
Okay.
And then
Maybe
I've
ship
got
send
it-
To Christie, and then.
Yeah.
everybody-
Or us, yeah, to Christie, and then she can send it out to us. And then I'll just go to McNeil and Joy, right?
Yeah, I went to Mr. Joy as well.
Right,
McNeil was definitely gonna be my next
point of.
I just go right to, yeah,
I have a question, first of all. So this, you're trying to bring back the tire recycling into and establish it into Norwood.
in the Knollwood.
Right.
Yes, as it was originally meant to do.
Sure.
The money's at Knollwood, so you can't,
So I was gonna say,
Change it
is
to
that, is that
RFH.
money still present at Norwood? Is it,
Mhm.
or has it not been allocated into something else?
As far as I know, it was already set aside.
Okay.
But again, it was very clear based on the email I received from one of the staff members there. And I don't want to keep like
no.
emailing her.
No, I get
So let's run it up the chain.
Can I
Fine.
make a suggestion? You know, you guys, you have a green team.
But I was just gonna say, have you
Right.
reached out to Mrs. Peck?
I have been in contact with her.
Is that the cryptic email you got back from her? Because,
You don't have to answer that,
no,
Mr. Chairman.
But you.
should we go back to Ms. Peck then?
Well, I didn't get it from her, it was
Okay.
from Mrs. Elbrum. It was the one that was doing
Okay.
that. I don't know if she's still involved with it now.
Okay,
But while I was there, she was the person to go through.
right,
And obviously, like when I went through her again, it didn't, it was kind of urgent, so.
Right.
I
that's
do
why I'm throwing
think-
one on the bus, but.
I do think that, you know, first of all, the green team at Norwood has finally gotten other
Right.
guys on the ground up and running. There's a really good,
They've
we've
got
gotten
legs.
some good publicity, and Sean and David seem to be very, Mr. McNeil and Mr. Joy seem to be very supportive of the efforts. I think it might just be, you know, it could be a matter of just getting all the heads in the room to meet and
That's
see how to
what I'm
best do
thinking.
this.
Yeah.
Where you can have Mrs. Pack, who's also a teacher there and can have the support from her student team to help learn from you and implement and for you to meet them after school and kind of get that started.
The original plan.
Right.
You know, this
Right.
next.
And I do believe Mr. McNeil and Mr. Joy, I mean, when we met, offered or asked them about where can we come to talk about the anti-idling, we met with them, brought up the whole plan and actually had a roundtable discussion and they were very open to it. I think perhaps it might just be getting their attention right now and getting all the heads in the room. But I think if you want help, if that is your plan to try to get those parties into it and see how to move forward, to see A, if that money is still accessible to be used for that, and then B, also to see if how can it be executed by students and staff that are currently in Norwood, would be very helpful. You know, we'd reach out on their behalf as
100%,
well.
absolutely.
I think this is a great thing that you started and that you're implementing.
And we
You've been to a
wanna
couple
see
of
it.
green teams.
We
We wanna
want to
see
see
it
it
more.
through,
Sure.
absolutely.
And
Do you know when the next Norwood Green Team meeting is?
They met today, I know, but I could, yeah, they just did some cleanup. They cleaned up a bunch of trash outside today. And got some of the grounds ready, but I would be happy to to start an email with the whole group and put it in. If Christy will send the plan to everybody, just so I have a little bit of background understanding and I could, you know, CC and get the proper
Yeah.
people on that. I think this would, I don't see why it wouldn't work. Yeah.
No.
And you have our, you know, the support of
Absolutely.
EC and Green Team. Yeah, no, this is great, Emma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I have the email. We're looking at it now.
Okay.
Yeah,
If
went to
you-
Miss Helmut.
Is anything still there? I think
I have
I said there should be 3 attachments.
I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it.
Maybe you shoot it to Christy right now, that way.
I'm gonna shoot it to you, Christy. Hold on to your stat here.
I will deal.
I will circulate it.
Great.
You're covered, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you
Done.
so much.
Thank you.
Public comment? Mark Olson, 20 Cambridge. I'm on Borough website, I can't find the members of the green team.
Yeah.
Why isn't there not a list of all the members of the green team and their phone numbers or emails?
Well,
Well, I don't want my phone number personally on it.
No, why is that on the Borough website?
Because
So,
technically,
It's,
I'm gonna give you as a succinct an answer. as
Actually, I don't
can.
even care, can it be put on the website?
Yes.
That's all.
if they so choose, if they so choose so, yes.
Well, then that
Because it's not, the
number-
green team is a subset of the E EC.
There is a
Understood.
board membership though, that the organizational chart that now exists will include the green team as its own entity with the core members.
And your members.
Yeah.
Thanks,
thank you,
Mark.
Mark.
comment from in the room?
Fun interest meeting, we'll see that. But I'm just curious, I mean, we're talking about all these things that need money. I know there are so many grant opportunities out there. Do they come into our town? Like, I don't know, how do you find out about them? Is there a central, here are all the grants that are out there, and then we can say, oh, that matches up with the project that we want to do. I mean, I guess I'm just so confused about how we hear about them in town. I'm wondering if, I mean, do you have any idea? Like, if you wanted to get, I mean,
Yeah, there is a listing, and then once in a while they'll come across our desks, you know, via email saying, hey, there's a grant opportunity. But it's really council and the borough administrator who has access to all that information.
So I'll answer it this way. I get a lot of information about grants.
Right.
as
And
a council member, everybody does?
no, I signed up to receive information to make sure I don't miss anything. And then that correspondence packet that we get on a weekly basis does have things in it. It's often 50, 60 pages. As a person, you're given a lot of things to read. I can imagine some people not having the bandwidth to go through all of that, but there are often some really nice things in there. We have a borough engineer, and every year we do road work, and the road work we apply for grant money for all our road work. So there's the staff person, there's an initiative, and there's a rolling set of work. So it's automatic that we apply for grants.
So do we get environmental grants? Where do they go?
There's the gist. So
And
we
Jack.
don't have a staff person, we
And
don't
Jack.
have a conservation plan, nor do we have a mindset.
Right.
We can have all of those things. I think it's actually growing right here in front of us. It's happening.
Hmm.
And I have to say, there is a lot of money, and I agree with you. We have a story to tell, for example, just the 3rd Street Trail.
Mhm.
Can identify all the grant-worthy aspects of when you're a grantor, you look for certain things. We have all of it.
Well, I would just ask if you do, or if you can improve your access to grant opportunities, environmental, like I would ask you to do that and pass it along to the green team, to Mark, to Nate, it would, you know.
It would, some of it would emanate from the green team through Anjac.
Even
This is the
less
first,
than-
when did you start with us, Christie?
Last year.
So that we've never had the Christie sit with us. So we've never had the resources, not that we'd have all the resources we need, but we've never had this support ever in the history that I've been on the
Is
east.
there a way for,
So
they could come into the borough that they say, oh, this is environmental, send over to Christie, and Christie can say,
Well,
"You're
that-
being-" I don't know.
I mean, I get
So-
some, like, I get a lot of like, and like for Shade Tree, just because I'm the secretary of the distribution, I get, you know, all kinds of stuff from them. Environmental, I don't see many come across into my email box. At
But a lot-
NGDP, I get a lot of them, and I mean,
That could be a standing item on your agenda. And as just a function of housekeeping, you know, Christie and I can be paying attention. I mean, I do, but I will
Just
tell you,
flag things.
I do occasionally flag things and send them as an email, but I know what that's like. Email,
Right.
there are hundreds of emails.
Right.
And if somebody sends you a 16-page document about, you know, it's very hard to
Sure.
allocate the time to digest it, metabolize it, come here, bring a report, create consensus, get it to the governing body, get their attention, you know. So, but just as a function of the agenda,
Yeah.
that might be an interesting way
Yeah.
to at least try to capture
Should
these
try to at
things.
least track some of them, but I know through Anjac and one of the reasons to be a silver, you know, recognized as silver is that you have access to bigger and
Bigger.
different grants.
Right. And,
Um,
but I think it would be worthwhile to have it on the agenda, because then
100%.
if you get the support of the commission, or you can kind of talk about it and see what makes sense and what other groups might be interested in joining, and then here you go, and you've got that support
Right.
already that you're trying, you know, to
And we would bring that to the round table
Right.
also, and because I've been involved in some of the grant writing, you don't want to just sit here and say, oh, there's a whole bunch of grants, let's go in for them all. It would take you 50, 60 hours, whatever, a week to do it. It's a very difficult process for obvious reasons. They don't want to just hand out money.
They do want to hand out money.
They do.
Well, they do want to hand it out, but it's not easy. All right, I'll
That, but
rephrase
I'm
that.
not correcting.
The
you,
money
I'm
is
saying
there.
that
It's
is-
not easy to write the grants.
It's time
It's
consuming.
very time consuming to fill out for grants. I do know that. being
I'm gonna
involved.
suggest that you think about your policy and your recommendation.
Right.
Function to include matching recommendations with grants.
Yes,
How could that be, if the environmental commission is where these projects and is where these grants, here you go,
Yeah.
governing body, right?
Yeah.
It's how.
if there's a
how-
project that, yeah, if there's
Right.
projects that are that we want to do, obviously the first thing we would do, just like roads, is to look for a grant to do it.
The DEP has a, I get regular weekly DEP.
Yes.
Yeah, it's chock full of stuff.
I find a lot of them are geographically specific, like,
Some of
this
them-
is only for a river with a basin with X feet, and they were like, what?
It's true.
But, I mean, they're voluminous, but I'm happy to pass them on.
And I'll tend to it as well, together, we- I'm sure, send some things your way. It's a good idea, but
Thanks. Thank you.
Any more public comment?
In the room?
Motion
Okay,
to
there's
adjourn?
none online.
None online? Motion to adjourn?
No, not yet.
Oh,
There's a public comment.
oh, there is a
online.
public
Yes.
comment. I thought you said there was not.
Stephanie, I'm gonna bring you over. Okay, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Stephanie Adams, 30 Oxford Avenue. Sorry, Brian. I just want to thank Mark Olson for his vision and seeing so much potential for what was essentially a forgotten area of town. And then, you know, obviously he and Bonnie, all of their hard work, but also their tremendous efforts engaging so many different members of the community. It's really been fantastic to see how this is evolving. And I just wanted to suggest, I don't know if it's a suggestion, but when they put in the bottle filling stations at Fairhaven Fields, there was always this sense that there was one missing at the bottom of the fields at the north end. It's pretty far, you know, the baseball diamonds down there, they're pretty far from the existing bottle filling stations at Fairhaven Fields. So to the extent that you all would want to maybe, you know, talk to rec and see if, you know, they would consider putting some sort of water line down there for a bottle filling station, you know, in the efforts to, again, continue to try and cut down on single-use plastic waste. And then down the line, that would also be a water source for this wonderful evolving area off of the 3rd Street entrance. So that was it.
Thank you. I'll talk to Rec when I get home.
Thanks.
See, yeah, and I know I believe that was part of a grant also. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it just always seemed like it was sort of a gap that was kind of a forgotten space, because it's pretty far, you know, from, you know, if the kids are in the middle of a game or if someone needs a refill, it's a bit of a ways to run up the hill to go get more water. So I just always thought that, you know.
The big thing is the water source. Mark and I talked about it today. If there is any water, where's the closest public water?
Community.
3rd Street.
Could be Henderson too, but when we were out there with the steward.
So we'd have to, because it was done through American Water. So we'd have to have rec. I'll shoot DJ an email and I'll talk to one of the members of rec if she'll talk to me about it this evening when I get home to see. But definitely it's a very point, and Mark and I talked about water sources today when we were there. Thank you.
Any other public comment online? Please raise your hand. No further comments.
Motion to adjourn. Adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Does anybody want any bookmarks? I don't.
If you guys are done with your, or you don't need it, you don't need it to